Buzz Botanicals, and wanted to make a video because this is something I've seen several of my friends and colleagues post about or make videos about. It's kind of like on the thing, are demons your friends? Are they like your little buddies, your snuggle, your cute little stuffed animal snuggle buddy kind of thing? And I have some thoughts on this, and honestly, like some of what the way that they posit it, I honestly don't agree with. Um, I'm not saying that, Leviathan's your cute little snuggle bug and, gonna cuddle you at night. That might get a little weird, but um when you're working with a demonic divine or really any type of spirits, you develop a personal relationship with them. And as I've said in other videos, is any spirit that I've worked at is they kind of meet you where you're at, and they function a lot within your lived experience and your visual frame of reference. So, it's thinking about that and what you're working with them on. It's there might be times where you need, and it may sometimes also be a little bit of ego projection. I wouldn't say it's like complete and utter psychosis or nonsense, or dangerously delusional behavior. Like sometimes it's like, hey, whatever gets you through the night in a safe way, I'm all for that, because we've all had the dark nights of the soul, and sometimes I've had like dark years, if not decades of the soul. So I get it, believe me. Like, and there's times that depending on your relationship, especially if you're working with like a patron or matron and deity or demon, like Lucifer was always my patron. So there's times when I've sought comfort through in very trying times for me, where I've sought comfort through Lucifer and my workings with him. Maybe that counts as me, fantasizing some, Lucifer snuggle bug boyfriend, bestie, whatever. But there were times where that helped me. And when we're talking about, I mean, any entity, whether you're working with gods, goddesses, angels, demons, whatever you want to call them, any kind of spirit. I mean, even spirits of the dead. Once we leave these handy dandy meat suits, I would, the way I kind of see it, whether I'm right or wrong, who the fuck knows. That's the great thing with spirituality. Most of it can't really be proven at this or disproven, but like you're dealing with incorporeal, energetic beings that don't necessarily have like a physical form. This is my Killstar pillow, so you're dealing with something that's kind of beyond human comprehension. So how do you deal with things that are beyond human comprehension? We put the little pillowcase on the, energetic pillow that is the mystery behind whatever's in here. So we understand it. So we go, okay, this is a pillow now. The pillow has roses and a skull and some spider webs. Okay, so now we've got an understanding and a definition of the pillow. I know this is a weird metaphor, but I'm in the middle of packing my house. So God knows where anything is, and I have pillows handy. I could easily use a remote control, but pillow's cuter. So we put we project our vision as to what any of these particular spirits look like. Now, this can be influenced by pop culture, literature, our own frames of reference. Like I know when I first started working with Lucifer, it like really started on like a regular basis. It took me a while to kind of get like the visual Lucifer of how Lucifer appears to me, because I kept getting the pop culture references kind of masking over it. And if that works for you, chaos magic is all about that kind of stuff. So If you want to, if Captain America is Lucifer to you, go for it. Doesn't really work for me, but I'm not really into the whole superhero genre thing. But anyways, so that being said, one of the other things is that in times of comfort, they don't always have to appear in the exact same way every time. I mean, sometimes Lucifer's had blonde hair, sometimes he has black hair. Is he in the infernal realm dyeing his hair? No, it's just how I'm seeing him at that moment. And, you know, there's times when I needed comfort, maybe from a particular person, where they've kind of morphed or donned the guise of that person to get me through that moment. Or sometimes, it's trying to think of a good way to describe it. Could describe it using that movie, but there'd be a lot of spoiler alerts. But um, so there was a movie out a few years, actually probably long, maybe 10 years ago or something like that. I really love it. But in it's sort of like there's a plane crash. The spoiler alert is everyone dies, but like there's a pocket of people within that haven't come to terms with the fact that they've died. So they're kind of going on with their regular lives and slowly starting to realize that the people they're interacting with were people from their lives who had passed on. Like, oh, they have that moment where they're like, oh, this neighbor here that keeps coming over and helping me with stuff is actually my aunt, or this coworker is a teacher I had when I was a child or something. So it's like they're being visited by, but they don't know it necessarily that that's who they are. They're being visited by the spirits from the other side to help them move on to the afterlife. So I kind of think of it sometimes in that sort of sense, is that again, you're you know working with your visual frame of reference, things are going to be different for you. And also, especially for me being neuro spicy, our brains all work differently and we need different things. And if it helps you to think of, Belial as your bestie going out getting drunk and, flipping over bar tables, I can understand that to some level. I mean, but you also have to be aware and respect the fact that you're working with these types of entities, and no, they're not cuddly stuffed pillow or your stuffy you snuggle up with at night. But as you develop working relationships with them, especially over the years, it changes in a way. It's, do I need to do at this point a full hour long evocation for entities I work with like all the time? No, not really. I mean, if I want to be fancy about it and I feel like I need to, sure, I will. It's just when you start working with those energies, and you just after a while you just know how to do it. Like, I get asked a lot, like, oh, what's your favorite goetic evocation thing? I'm like, none of them. I don't do that. I mean, if and this is, yeah, I've talked about this with other people. It's sort of like when it comes to the evocation part or contact, where it's kind of like if you meet someone for the first time in a very formal setting, that's one thing. 10 years later, you're like, high five, bro, and slamming back a beer. It's different. So, it's going to change and evolve over time. And how you work with them is going to change and evolve over time. So you might be working with them in a very different way on day one than 3 years later. So it's like a lot of it, like now, whereas I used to intentionally work with Lucifer every day or as much as possible, it's kind of like I'm at the point where I'm like, I know Lucifer is always with me. So it's kind of like if I need to work with Lucifer on something, or I need, sure, I make my offerings, I do my things and all that. Right now, it's a little tenuous because I'm in the process of moving and half my shit is who knows where. But it's a process of doing better, learning, changing, evolving, growing spiritually. And then, they become sort of like they guide you through things. And, if I need an answer on something or I'm just stuck and being, hi, I'm an anxious stress pot overthinking weirdo. So sometimes I just need someone to be like, okay, stop that. um, or to find the answer that I'm looking for in that uh space. So, it's your relationships with the entities that you work with will grow. And sometimes, I mean, honestly, this year I've been working a lot with Abaddon. Um, you know, it's there can flux back and forth based on what your needs or based on what's going on in your life. Working for me this year, working with Abaddon has been Abaddon is great to work with to help you bust through all the obstacles, roadblocks, and personally and excuse me, externally to get you moving. A lot of people think of Abaddon as, chaos and destruction and Lord of the Abyss, and that's who you work with when you want to curse the fuck out of someone, which, albeit, is fun. But you have to realize that you're some of this is projection. Just because one person or one book or multiple books who are all derivative of each other talk about working with Abaddon in a very particular way doesn't mean that that is the only way you can work with Abaddon or the only thing that you can work with Abaddon on. I've found Abaddon amazing to work with for shadow work and healing and trauma integration and road. You want someone to bust open those road openers and blockbusters and shit like that. Abaddon, I'm telling you. And that's another video I need to talk about because that's been sort of the longer I've mentioned it, I think, in a couple other videos, just some of the healing stuff I've been doing with Abaddon and Santa Muerte over the course of this year, which finally kind of hit a resolution point within the past few weeks or month, maybe. I'm in a process of look at the kitty run up the stairs. I'm in the process of integrating a lot of that, and it's a lot. So once I get to kind of that final part, I'll make a video on that. But so are demons your besties, buddies, whatever? I mean, some people talk down to it and kind of look at it like, that's just baby beginner witch nonsense, or that's just, spiritual psychosis or delusional thinking. And for some people, believe me, it can be. I'm not saying that there are not people who have significant spiritual psychosis and things like that, or people who are clearly delusional or just kind of, I mean, even if you're working on like thought form, egregore, tulpa, that kind of stuff, you know, sometimes that's just the baby step we need to get to the big place. So, um, at the end of the day, I'm like, do what works for you. I think I say that in almost every video. Find what works for you. And look, a kitty. Um, and work within that. You don't have to base your how you practice your spirituality and how you work with these entities on any number of books or any number of occultists or any number of whatever is out there. It's a great guide, but it's a great source. I love learning. I'm a gigantic nerd, as we all know. I love reading. Like I mean, I've been working with Lucifer for over 3 years now, going on 4, and like I highly recommend it. Bal Kadmon's it's like a video course thing he did on like sort of the history of Lucifer. Really, like I really loved listening to that and watching the videos, and it gave me an entirely different perspective on some aspects. So, I'm never going to stop learning about things. And I love And I love that. Like, I'm never gonna sit here and be like, "Well, I've read all the stuff on Lucifer I need to read. I know everything there is to know." No, I'm gonna read. I'm gonna watch videos to understand other people's perspectives. I'm going to keep exploring my own, and that's what we all should be doing. Always keep learning, always keep exploring, and yeah. So, anyways, that's all I just kind of wanted to say on this. And and just to wrap up and say, kind of like, do I think these demons are my BFFs and whatnot? I mean, they're like, I'm trying to think of like how I would describe them. They're sort of like guidance counselors, therapists, and entities. I mean, it all depends on how I work with. They're teachers. They're teaching me things and helping me grow spiritually. So whatever you want to call that. I don't know. Anyways, I'm Jennifer. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that stuff. Love ya. Bye.